From an urbanist perspective, Perth's sprawl has reached an unacceptable level. It's about 150 kilometres north to south and increasingly east into the hills. And apologies to Wanneroo, that was a very good presentation, but some of these things may seem as if we're taking a bit of a shot at it. But as I say, from an urbanist perspective, we live in one of the most isolated cities in the world. There's a near endless supply of availability of land. Unfortunately, it only requires the levelling of dunes and the clearing of bushland and mature trees to add the brick and tile houses. But far from building the Australian dreams of the future, we've created homes crammed together in rather soulless and remote suburbs. Again, apologies. Whilst it's cheaper housing, some 30 to 50 kilometres from the city centre, it's not affordable living for many of the young families choosing to live there because there are few other options. The state government has for years set an urban infill target of 47%. 3 years ago, only 29% of all new dwellings were in established urban areas. The policy has largely failed. So why is Canning City Centre and our blue-green projects part of the answer to Perth's sprawl? The population of Canning is expected to grow by 60,000 people. Currently it's just under 100,000 in the next 30 years. The Canning City Centre is a designated strategic metropolitan centre only 10 kilometres from the Perth CBD. The city centre has an approved planning framework that allows for up to 25,000 people to live in the city centre. And the area is also well served by public transport, employment and access to great amenities. In 2017, the city approved the Regeneration programme to upgrade the infrastructure to attract future investment. The investment will support the approved activity centre plan for up to 10,000 dwellings in the city centre. It's a rolling programme directly linked to the long-term financial plan to deliver our vision for the area. The first year of work that we put into the Regeneration programme was working on the finances with our finance team to make sure that this could stack up. Of course, there's a few things that might get in the way. That is the economy, COVID, and other things that don't make the development happen that we've planned for. We developed a story about the future of this place, one that would resonate with all levels of government, state agencies, developers, investors, and our community. The vision was for transformational change by creating a competitive advantage over the other strategic centres. We called Cannington a riverine city that promotes the importance of high-quality blue-green infrastructure for our community in partnership with Watercorp and many other agencies that are represented here today. The reason why we place a strong emphasis on a riverine city vision and the incorporation of blue-green infrastructure in this area is that Cannington is one of the hottest suburbs in Perth. We've got about 11% tree coverage, canopy coverage, and it's really an unsustainable situation if we carry on. After years of blocks being subdivided, trees being removed, large expanses of car parking and roofs around the shopping centre, the urban heat island effect is intense. Joining up the green spaces, once fenced off in Cannington, will greatly assist with mitigating that effect, that urban heat effect. We're delivering new parks in areas that were once fenced off. We're utilising the hidden network of drains and basins which become a powerful driver of change in the urban environment. We're creating the amenities required for the higher density living to support that population of up to 25,000 people. It is allowing people to be closer to nature with all the beneficial impacts that brings, and we've heard a lot about that over this conference. But before we can win awards and cut ribbons and open these projects, there's a lot of work to be done. Essentially, planning, planning, and more planning. You can't emphasise the amount of planning that needs to be done to then successfully deliver a programme of works. This lays the foundation to attract the funding and assists to deliver successful and potentially award-winning projects. And Canning's been very lucky in that regard. Talking about planning, the Canning City Centre was first identified as one of Perth's key metropolitan centres back in 1991. The West Australian Planning Commission endorsed the latest activity centre plan in late 2017. That's the newer document on the right. This sets the planning framework for those 10,000 dwellings in the city centre. Gives you an indication of how long the planning's been put in place, but very little work had happened in that area for a long period of time. The activity centre plan for the town centre is mostly zoned centre in the town planning scheme, which gives great flexibility for developers. The locations of public open space, urban streams and water sensitive areas is also shown on the plan. It allows a mix of inner urban city living with differing tenure types and should be an area of affordable housing through to more expensive private dwellings with a soon-to-be elevated station and rail on its doorstep. Strategically, the Canning City Centre can accommodate that 25,000 people over the next 30 years, which goes a long way to meet the state's infill targets. Everyone involved in master planning knows that without the control of the land, the best laid plans for future development will not happen. There are large parcels of land, both in public and private ownership in the city centre. You can see that the privately owned land is in orange and the public's in blue. We are leveraging the publicly owned land to kickstart infrastructure delivery that will promote future investment attraction. To implement our vision, the city invested significant resources into leading this planned change with a 10-year, $76 million regeneration programme. The programme is funded by ring-fencing the rate base of the new city centre development. That's all new development from 2017, and a loan facility is on hand from the West Australian Treasury Corporation to smooth out any peaks and troughs in the borrowings. When I first joined the city some 7 years ago now, it appeared the hardest part of the process was where to start. With a list of discrete projects, funding model in place, and the council's support. I can't overestimate how important it is to have the council support, and it's great to see councillors here talking about these projects, and it's an area that's really important to give a bit of credibility to what we're doing. We just needed to commence the work in a staged approach to delivering the first programme of projects. More importantly, we had an expectant community that had been part of the planning for years. They now wanted to see action. To deliver on the promised amenity, the Regeneration programme has to date delivered a number of projects, but 3 significant blue-green projects. Wharf Street Basin opened in September 2020, the Lake Street Urban Stream completed in 2023, and the renewal of Cecil Avenue, which was commenced in early 2019 and was completed in December last year. Rachel will now give an overview of some of the projects.
So we've heard a lot about collaboration over the last couple of days, and water projects like the ones we've been delivering in the city centre can't be done by a council alone. So the city has developed strong partnerships with state agencies and other organisations for funding and also for support to deliver the multiple project outcomes. These partnerships were particularly important in the delivery of Wharf Street Basin and Lake Street Urban Stream. Wharf Street Basin is highlighted here with the yellow box. It's located on the western boundary of the city centre. The site's a Water Corporation flood retention asset, and it's typical of many similar assets across the city. It was surrounded by fences topped with barbed wire. It had very low biodiversity and was full of weeds, and it accumulated litter and attracted antisocial behaviour. However, based on its strategic location within the city centre, the site had potential to be transformed into something really special. We developed a plan to create a multi-purpose space that embraced livability and environmental sustainability in order to attract investment into the regeneration area. To support the population that we were looking for, we needed to have attractive open space and public areas. The project was the beneficiary of a $1 million federal grant, Smart City grant, with the total budget being $3.5 million to deliver 1 hectare of new community space in the city centre. Water Corporation, as owners of the site, were an important project partner and also contributed funding through the Drainage for Livability program, as did DEWA. We also developed partnerships with the other organisations listed here to be able to deliver the multiple project outcomes. Research undertaken by Curtin University as part of this project has indicated that Wharf Street Basin has achieved its objective to become a livable community park due to the number of visitors over the study period and its use for a range of different recreational and social activities. The second transformative project is the Lake Street Urban Stream. Giles spoke on this yesterday, so I'll just whiz through the information I have on Lake Street Urban Stream. But it was fenced off for 60 years, and its design and delivery had been planned for 15 years and was finally delivered last year. Water Corporation was again an important partner in this project as they were the original owner of the land. Differing from Wharf Street Basin, as part of this project, the city has acquired ownership of this land and is now responsible for the ongoing maintenance. So if you ever want to take on one of these projects with Water Corporation, you'll hear a lot about capacity modelling and hydrology when delivering drainage for livability projects. Both Lake Street Urban Stream and Wharf Street Basin are part of the local stormwater drainage network, and they still needed to be able to protect local properties from flood risk and to divert stormwater. And here are some photos. You saw the Lake Street Urban Stream storm event yesterday, but we've also had a decent event at Wharf Street soon after it opened where it looked more like a lake than a retention basin. It shows that the sites can still work even though you're building into the sites. So Lake Street Urban Stream was a design and construct project which worked out really well. And as we heard yesterday, one of the key aspects of the delivery of this project was the retention of some of the biodiversity within the site during the construction process, as well as the reuse of some of the wood from the old Shelley jetty, which made this beautiful decking area. So now we have a beautiful linear park to enjoy while people walk from the train station to the shopping centre. So this photo almost looks like a landscape render, but it's actually real life. The transformation of this stormwater drain has been remarkable. Right from the completion of the project, people from the adjoining office building, which you can see in that photo, have been spending time along this newly landscaped area, enjoying its vastly improved amenity. The third important project for the city centre is the rejuvenation of Cecil Avenue. This is a key connecting road from the train station towards the Canning River. It has dedicated bus lanes that can be converted to carry trackless trams or even light rail. It's only a road, but it's one that's been reimagined as green infrastructure. It now has wonderful shaded landscape nodes for children to explore, with over 130 new large native trees and rain gardens. These are all designed with a water-sensitive urban design drainage system, incorporating rain gardens and sculptural art elements. Our road verges were designed and delivered by our consultants, civil engineers and landscape architects as more as places for people than cars. With art, decorative lighting, profound cultural narrative for people to engage with, this is communicated powerfully by the Indigenous artist Darryl Bellotti, who designed the filigree elements on the median light poles, which you can see in this photo. Blue-green infrastructure is about connection with nature and the narrative of place, and that's how traditional owners have been managing land for thousands of years. Oh, sound.
Both Yamaji and Noongar descents. I work as a graphic designer in the Perth metropolitan region, and I service both government and the corporate sector. The Canning project, to me, it's really insightful in terms of, you know, giving people a window into the culture of the region and the history of the region and the people that live here. And being a young person myself who spends a lot of time growing up here, and I know this road really well. I used to walk along here in the summer and sweat it out, and it was a little bit of a drag to walk through. So to be a part of the regeneration, I think it's really good. And as a young person, seeing this kind of stuff, and you know, would have inspired me to keep going and try harder. So hopefully that's what it does for the young people today. As a young person growing up in the area and walking from Cannington train station through to Carousel, sometimes as an Indigenous person you feel a little bit like an outlier in terms of society, and I had that feeling constantly, especially going to the shops and some negative experiences there. So had I had something like this available to me when I was a young person, and knowing that there was a story here that connected me to my culture and my history, and that it was inclusive in terms of everyone being proactively engaged and wanting to learn about it, then it would have made me feel a lot more centered and settled within myself, and it would have made my day-to-day experience a whole lot better. But at the same time too, it's part of my story, and from me experiencing that, that allows me now to go out and teach so that I can make things easier for others and educate anyone else along the way too. There are 11 panels in total. It's the story of pretty much the Canning River and things that you can encounter along the way. There's a little bit of culture and mythology thrown in terms of the Noongar experience and part of the historical context that way. And with the QR codes that are being included as part of the process, hopefully then it'll be a little bit of an interactive opportunity for passers-by to learn a little bit more, not just about the artwork, but about the region itself and the people who live here. We invite the community to scan the QR codes as you pass and learn a little bit of the history of the filigree lighting and the Canning region itself and the Nyungar people's story that lived here for generations.
I think that video really shows how important storytelling is. We've heard a lot about how blue-green infrastructure can help connect community and improve wellbeing, but I think that video really shows how well that can work within the community. Gary was going to talk to that, but you can read it.
Speaks for itself.
So thank you for listening to our story and the stories we're telling within the City of Canning.